Minister Al-Halaqi at the People's Assembly states Syria is strong by its army and people, its economy is firm and has started to recover despite the war of terrorism and the sanctions. Defying terrorism, about 392,000 students start their exams in Syria. Campaigns for presidential candidates continue and the voters are determined to choose the best. And finally, the Syrian Arab Army carries out wide-scale operations in the countrysides of Damascus, Daraa and Aleppo. France hosts a summit to face the threat of terrorism in Africa, while it decides to increase support for terrorists in Syria. Good afternoon, welcome to our news bulletin. I'm Dania Nizam. The People's Assembly held a session attended by the Prime Minister and the Cabinet today. Speaker of the Assembly, Mohammed Jihad al-Laham, underlined that Syria needs all the honest Syrians to cast their ballots, and those who would refrain from exercising their right of voting are considered as abandoning their national duty at a time when their country calls them. Al-Laham called on the concerned parties to take the necessary measures to provide the suitable atmosphere for the elections and to ensure the voters' easy and safe access to the ballot boxes. Speaker of the Assembly pointed out that the People's Assembly sent invitations for 13 parliaments of friendly countries to send their delegations to attend the presidential elections in Syria. Prime Minister Al-Halaqi asserted that the Syrian economy has remained steadfast despite the escalating terrorist war and the economic sanctions on Syria, adding more that the economy has started to recover with the launching of the production process and the reconstruction plans. Al-Halaqi stressed that the government is adamant in holding its responsibility of providing the needs of the citizens in all governorates, especially in the areas that are besieged by the terrorists, adding that the government has started to rehabilitate the areas which have been freed by the Syrian Arab Army. Some 292,000 students head today to examinations of basic education and Sharia preparatory certificate in all the governorates for 2014 academic year. In this framework, Education Minister Hazwan al-Waz was briefed on the reality of the examinations of the social studies subjects that comprise history, geography and national education in a tour he made to several exam centres in Damascus countryside governorate. The minister inspected the centre's readiness, asking them to secure quiet and comfortable ambience to the pupils. He also stressed that the students and the observers must abide by the exam's instructions in order to achieve better results. Yielding to the demand of many Syrians abroad, the Election Committee at the Ministry of Foreign and Expatriates Affairs has extended the deadline to register the names of eligible voters abroad until the end of May the 21st, 2014. The committee said that Syrians who live abroad and who have residencies at the hosting countries should head to the Syrian embassies bringing their passports to register their names at the voters' lists in order to be able to participate in the presidential elections that is set to be held at the Syrian embassies abroad on the 28th of May 2014. The committee pointed out that the Syrian citizens abroad can also register their names either by faxing to the embassies or by sending letters via the regular mail or by email. Meanwhile, at home, campaigns continue to support the presidential elections due to be held on the 3rd of June amidst several public activities in different governorates asserting solidarity with the Syrian Arab Army and the national principles. In Idlib, Minister of State for National Reconciliation Affairs Dr. Ali Haider asserted that the political leadership pays great attention to Idlib as part of the government's care for all the Syrian governorates. Minister Haider pointed out that holding the presidential elections on its scheduled time is a mere sovereign issue, and it is the citizens' right and duty to participate in it. Minister Haider asserted that the solution to the crisis in Syria can be realized only by the Syrian dialogue inside Syria, and that was emphasized during a press conference held at the Damascus Hotel in Damascus by the Committee of Following Up the Syrian National Reconciliation, which has emerged from Tehran conference. In a statement, the follow-up committee had called on all the Syrian opposition parties at home and abroad, as well as calling upon all the national parties to participate in a serious dialogue in order to bring Syria out of its crisis, underlining the sovereignty of the Syrian state, rejecting foreign interference in the country's internal affairs, and emphasizing the need to fight terrorism by all means. Members of the committee saw the stance by the opposition abroad of rejecting repeated calls for dialogue, asserting that they want to bring the solution out of the Syrian hands, paving the way for a foreign intervention in Syria's internal affairs. Syrian citizens continued activities to show support to the presidential elections, the Syrian Arab Army and the national principles.
In Damascus, a mass gathering was organized in Yusuf al-Azma Square in support of the army, the national principles and the presidential elections. The participants said that Syria will continue to fight terrorism and takfiri mentality and calling upon all Syrians to vote in the elections. In Damascus countryside, a festival was held in Dahiyyat al-Assad while people expressed support to the Syrian Arab Army and for candidate Dr. Bashar al-Assad. They also voiced support to the national reconciliation process, stressing that holding the elections on time shows that Syria's decision-making is independent.
This is a public gathering on the elections for the presidency. This gathering is for the Syrians who defend their homeland and their legitimacy. The Syrians who were steadfast against the global war aiming to get over them and their structure. As Syrians, we condemn terrorism with all its shapes and faces, so we are going to reconstruct our Syria and live together safe and secured.
The duty and right of every Syrian citizen is to vote. Our duty is to defend our homeland through these elections, which is the least we can do for our Syria.
We will stay together forever and ever with our dignity and pride, as our homeland needs hard men. Today, we need a leader, and there is no one but our leader, Dr. Bashar al-Assad, our candidate. During the coming few days, Syrians are going to teach democracy to all the world through election polls here in Syria in light of the terrorist attack against it.
World's conscience has died. There is no soul. Their souls and the blood were deformed. We speak up highly because justice is our road. Beware, you terrorists, because my soul and soul are twin.
In the Zabadani of Damascus countryside, people gathered in solidarity with the Syrian Arab Army, expressing their gladness with the Syrian elections. In Homs, a 2-meter-high and more than 100 meters long tunnel connecting Jebel Jandali with Al-Warsha neighborhoods in Old Homs was discovered. Another tunnel connecting Bab al-Drib and Jebel Jandali leading to Ka'b al-Ahbar Mosque, which was the stronghold of the armed terrorist groups, was also discovered. Both tunnels were used to transfer arms and ammunition and to launch attacks against the secured areas. In Daraa al-Balad, Syrian Arab Army units killed and wounded terrorists, including 8 of the terrorist group's leaders. in Al-Bahar Cemetery, Al-Jamrouk Al-Qadim, and the Journalists Building. Meanwhile, Syrian Arab Army units carried out a series of operations in Khan al-Sheikh and its farms in Damascus countryside. A military source said that 20 terrorists were killed and others wounded, and a warehouse full of a variety of weapons and ammunition was destroyed to the west of Khan al-Athari in Al-Abbasiyan area and the surroundings of Khan al-Sheikh area. Army units also eliminated 30 terrorists and destroyed their weapons and ammunition in Sharaf Street and the surroundings of Khan al-Sheikh. Armed terrorist groups were eliminated near Nestle factory in the same area. In a step that reflects contradictory attitudes and double standards, Western leaders have met in the French capital, Paris, with the participation of the Nigerian president, leaders of the neighbouring countries, and representatives from Britain, the US and Europe to discuss the threats posed by the armed group Boko Haram in Nigeria in the aftermath of abducting more than 200 girls last April. Participants sharply criticised the Nigerian government, describing its policy as lenient in combating Boko Haram and its terrorist practices. At times, these states turned their backs to the abduction of hundreds of Syrians in Adra al-Latakia countryside and elsewhere inside Syria. French President François Hollande asserted that Boko Haram poses a real danger on the West and Central Africa, adding that it has contacts with extremist groups in North Africa. He further called for setting up a plan to combat these groups. On his part, Britain's Foreign Minister William Hague proposed dispatching military experts to help Nigerian army to combat these groups. Turkish Prime Minister Recep Tayyip Erdogan has turned a deaf ear to the tragedy of the distressed residents of Soma area west of Turkey who have lost their beloved ones when a coal mine exploded. Erdogan further sharply criticised and directed words of insult to those who took to the streets to express rage over the tragic incident. An uploaded video showed Erdogan insulting the bereaved residents, describing them as vulgar. It is to be noted that the explosion of the coal mine that claimed the lives of more than 280 coal miners has triggered once again the public protest against Erdogan's government and its dictator policy. Iranian Assistant Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said that talks between his country and 5+1 group was moving in the right direction despite the difficulties, adding that a final agreement could be reached if the other side showed good intention and adopted a realistic policy. Araghchi described the talks as difficult because viewpoints of both sides were not that close. He pointed out that the next round of talks is scheduled on the 16th of next June in the Austrian capital, Vienna. The Syrian Society of Exploration and Documentation has made a touristic tour in Old Damascus with the participation of more than 100 Syrian volunteers of various age groups to be familiarized with the most important touristic and historical sites in Damascus and to document them through modern means. With this, we end our news for today. Thank you for watching us. For more news about the region and Syria, you can view this bulletin again on syriaonline.sy. After the break, it's Vani with our business and economic news.